Today we'll be looking at somatoform and dissociative disorders. Your vocabulary words today are somatoform disorder, conversion disorder, dissociative disorder, dissociative amnesia, dissociative fugue, and dissociative identity disorder. So what is a somatoform disorder? It's when you have physical symptoms for something in which there is no apparent physical cause. This can be a conversion disorder, or you could be a hypochondriac. So, conversion disorder. This is changing emotional difficulties into loss of a specific voluntary bodily function, i.e., or an example, you could have loss of function in your legs, and there's no real physical cause for this. And generally, it is related to some emotional change that you're experiencing, and it's manifesting itself physically. So, la belle indifference is accepting the loss of function with an air of indifference. So, this is generally a symptom or a sign that your symptoms are psychological because, if you woke up one day and you were, let's say, paralyzed from the waist down, most people are going to be in a sheer state of panic, like, WTF, what's going on? Why can't I move my legs? I need help now. Generally, people experiencing conversion disorder will say, well, of course, that makes sense. Everything else is falling apart, and now my legs don't work. End of story. So when you're a hypochondriac, and lots of people will self-identify as this, I often say that I am, but really that is just me saying, oh yeah, I think that I'm sick all the time, without a clinical diagnosis. But generally, the way this works is that there's a person who has relatively good health, and they will invent or attribute imaginary problems to themselves. And generally, this person will pass physical exams, but they will still be convinced that there is something wrong with them. You may have heard of Munchausen syndrome. This is also very similar to that. Munchausen syndrome is where a person will make themselves ill so that they can go to the hospital or to the doctor's office and receive treatment for that. There's also Munchausen's by proxy. Usually this is a caretaker to somebody, a dependent, where the caretaker will make the dependent ill so that they can then take them to the hospital or the doctor's office and then get them treatment for the thing that's making them ill. A dissociative disorder is when a person experiences alterations in memory, in their identity, or consciousness. So these are incredibly interesting, but they're actually relatively rare in the grand scheme of things. There are several different types of dissociative disorders. Dissociative amnesia is your inability to recall important personal events or information, and typically that's centered around a stressful situation. So a lot of times you'll hear that people block out a traumatic event in their life. There's no real biological explanation for that. It could possibly be your brain's way of coping with that traumatic event. There's a dissociative fugue. And this has to do with flight. So it's a disorder where a person will suddenly, for no expected reason, travel far away from where they work or their home. And generally in their fugue, they forget who they are. They forget the past. And if they don't come out of their fugue and if they don't receive treatment, this person in their fugue could develop a new identity. They could start a new job under a new name. They could get married, things like that. Fugues can last for days. So I read one where a woman drove across the country and she woke up 3 days later and had no idea what she was doing on the other side of the country. They can last decades. Generally, once you come out of your fugue, you have no memory of the event after that. Then there's a dissociative identity disorder. This is what we used to call or sometimes call multiple personality disorder, where a person will exhibit 2 or more personality states, and generally each personality has its own patterns of thinking and behaving. This is incredibly rare, and generally people with dissociative identity disorder will have a history of severe abuse in their past. If you are interested in this, there is a movie, and I can't remember when it came out, but I believe it's called The Three Faces of Eve, and I've actually Also uploaded an article related to the person that the movie was based on in our Google Classroom. It's so interesting. So if you're at all interested in dissociative identity disorder, check that article out. So today's main idea, again, we were focusing on anxiety and stress that can lead to somatoform disorders or dissociative disorders. Remember to keep working and stay up to date on all of the content that we're covering in class. And if you have any questions, send me an email at brittany.dambro@lansingschools.net. Have a great day.